The mission of the Dunn County Partnership for Youth is to promote safe and healthy communities for youth. And we do this through our vision to connecting agencies, schools, communities, and other individuals to create an environment that promotes healthy lifestyles and healthy choices and nurtures resilience through the fostering of community partners. And a lot of our partners are here today, and I thank you so much for being here. It's good to see so many familiar faces, and again, a lot of new faces. Throughout the partnership, we have task force teams, or teams that are devoted to certain areas of our community to address targeted situations, targeted events, and target healthy lifestyle. The alcohol environmental team, I'll kind of hand it over to Jill right now. She chairs this team, and I'll let her give a little more synopsis of that team, and so please welcome Jill again.
Thank you. The alcohol environmental team, the name kind of says it. We focus on the environment. It's a different way to try to approach prevention. When we look at the environment, what we're looking at is what is it in our environment that encourages high-risk alcohol use, and how can we change that? So an easy way, an easy example of that actually is to look at the trend of tobacco use and smoking. There's been a lot of changes in our environment that has led to a decrease in acceptance of smoking, the smoke-free policies that have been enacted within recent years. So it's a similar way we're looking at alcohol, is how can we change our environment to not encourage or promote high-risk alcohol use. I thought it would be helpful to actually start by looking at what do we look like as a state. So before we take a real close look at our own community, what do we look like as a state? Well, in the state of Wisconsin, I don't know, let me ask you, what do you guys think? A lot of alcohol use, a lot of beer drinking in Wisconsin? It's kind of we have the highest rates of binge drinking and heavy drinking in the U.S. And we have the highest prevalence of self-reported drinking and driving than any other state in the nation. And recently, this has been making news on the 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock news with a lot of the pending legislation around OWIs or drinking and driving. And so it's starting to rise to the surface a little bit. But it's important to know that as a state, we have high levels of drinking. And what does our community look like? So if that's what our state is, are we following kind of what the norm is in the state, or are we a little different? Well, of course, we're following. If we look at the Stout survey, and again, I just want to preface it that this only represents a portion of the 18 to 25 population. Over 60% of students state that they binge drank in the last 2 weeks. Okay? If we go in a little bit further about that, 20% report that they binge drank 3 to 5 times in the last 2 weeks. So that tells us about their behavior. What about some of the consequences that come with that? 44% of Stout students report getting into a fight as a result of their drinking. And again, if we just focus on the individual, we're thinking, okay, well, they get into a fight, they might get hurt. But what else does that mean to our community? Again, we'll be talking about that a little bit more today. Around 40% of students report driving under the influence. That's really high. 40% report driving under the influence. How does that impact others in our community? Again, just encourage you to start thinking about that. Again, getting us in the mindset of what is it in our community that encourages high consumption of alcohol and high-risk drinking. Here we have a picture of a special for $1.25 large tap. Again, these specials, and it doesn't matter if you're for or against drink specials, you know, the cheaper the alcohol is, the more people can buy, the more that they can consume. And the most price-sensitive population is the younger population, 18 and younger, at 18 to 25. The questions, again, that we hope that you keep in your mind is, what does our community really look like? I know my husband has gotten mad at me a couple times because we'll go buy something and I'll say, you know, what is this sidewalk chalk here about drink specials? Sidewalk chalk is for kids. You're like, come on, Jill. Just come on, let's go in and have dinner. But the more you're aware of these different things, the more things you see. And the more things you go, yeah, gosh, is that really promoting high-risk drinking a lot of alcohol? Again, we're not talking about the 1 or 2 drinks, because that doesn't typically lead to a lot of the consequences that we're going to talk about today. That said, I believe what we are going to do is actually get up now and head on out to get on one of the buses. There are some video vignettes to view on the bus.
Down here through 6th, 7th, and 8th in the community. Predominantly this is housed by students and the 18 to 25 population. A lot of the houses in here, there's a lot of the Greek sororities and fraternities have their large houses down here and things along that line. As last night, you may probably notice along the side of the street, the 18 to 25-year-old community call it Thirsty Thursday, and today would be Finally Friday. So as you'll see, you'll probably see some litter and things like that along the way that is probably left over from last night. Think about some of the problems that the neighbors living in this community may experience with noise problems, property damage, and the littering. As noted in your fact sheet, 50% of the residents here indicated that they've experienced property damage due to alcohol consumption. A big game of beer pong last night. Same thing as the trash here next to the avalanche.
Oh my goodness.
About a couple of years ago, my wife and I were looking to buy a house in Menomonie. We just moved here recently, but we looked all throughout this South Menomonie area and could not find a single home that would be suitable for a family. Everything was usually trashed or a house that within our price range, but it just was very sad that we couldn't find anything that had anything decent for a family with young kids. And so the realtor actually warned us not to buy down here because of the late night drinking and the walking through the yards and the property damage that could happen throughout the school year. So that's our story. We ended up buying up in North Menomonie because of that.
Texas. Please help me welcome Lieutenant Wendy Stelter.
Do we have problem drinking in Menomonie? Yeah. What I did is I went back 3 years, 2006 to 2009, August to August, and just brought up some statistics that I thought might be a little bit interesting for you. Since 2006 of August, the Menomonie Police Department has issued a little over 1,200 underage drinking citations. But I said, what if I told you that that was a little more than one a day, every day for 3 years, straight, consistent, that we wrote an underage drinking ticket every single day for our kids. Years ago, we had lots of people that we wrote for first offense underage drinking. Now it's second offense, third offense. Those are so common, it's unbelievable. And an underage drinking ticket only goes back 1 year. So if someone got a ticket back in '06, it's not going to be considered their second offense today. So we're seeing third, fourth, fifth offense. By the time these kids are 19, in the same time span, we arrested 333 drunk drivers, which again, if you break that down, amounts to 9 a month. Now that's just Menomonie Police. That's not the Sheriff's Department, that's not the State Patrol, and I can tell you they're arresting drunks all the time. Over the same 3-year period, Menomonie PD have arrested 96 people for providing alcohol to drinkers under 21. So that's almost 100 people in 3 years that were willing to break the law and provide someone who's under the age, clearly. We all know, or at least I think, do we have host parties in Menomonie? If you're someone who lives in those neighborhoods or you know of somebody, I think they'll clearly tell you that yes, you sure do with that. Little side story. Guy in this situation was already in handcuffs and decided to run from the police. In handcuffs. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, he's running and officers are chasing him. He comes to the curb and falls face forward.